In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? Today, I want to go back to a blast from the past, a very pleasant one. You know, I love my Jet magazines. I try to do one of these. I'm going to try to do one of these once a week. But before we get into that, if you guys could help me out with the algorithm, you know, and hit the like button for me, you know, leave a comment, you know, share the content, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I really would, you know, and as always, you know, when you guys come and hang out with me, it just, you know, it makes me feel so good, man. It makes me just want to scream out, you know?
Excellent!
Yeah. It makes me feel just like that, you know? So without further ado, we're going to take a look at, looks like April the 2nd, 1953. Jet magazine that dealt with women who acted like men during that time, and some of the concerns that some women had and some men during that time had. And I just want to, you know, I want to take a look at this and we read through it together and see if it has any historical, you know, precedent and any relevance to, you know, our current, you know, situation today with regard to how we are coexisting with the LGBTQ community. You guys tell me what you think in the comments. You know, we can, you know, kind of go back and forth with it. You know, anything that you think you'd like for me to cover or to track down in the Jet magazines. I know I'm not the only fan of Jet magazine here. Jet and Ebony I grew up on that, you know. Some of these old ones that were long before my time, my grandmother kept them and I would go through them and I would read these things. These things were almost like, I mean, they were better than any library that I had. I mean, especially dealing with us as a community. And I think we have lost a great treasure in losing Jet magazine because we don't have this type of coverage of what is significant in our communities and the uplifting of our achievements and making us want to aspire to do better and be humble at the same time and feel a sense of community with each other, no matter what city we lived in, no matter where we were. So let's move on and get into it. Let's see here. Oh, yeah.
Excellent!
All right. Okay. Here we go. Women who act like men. All right. So that top picture there is Kathleen Wembley, who earns $10,000 a year wrestling. She's still cute there, you know, still wore a magazine. I mean, her, Her makeup still tried to look, feminine and whatnot during that time. Okay. All right. Women earn high incomes in sports. Okay. Mississippi mechanic hired as car washer. During the war, the 29-year-old Miss Crawford soon became a first-class mechanic, but she has not lost her womanliness, still likes to dress in typically pretty dresses and hats, like many girls in the Midwest. Betty Chapman, an Illinois State normal college student, read of good salaries to be made in softball leagues. A talented athlete, she became the first Negro girl in organized softball 2 years ago when she joined the Music Maids of Chicago. The rough, tough sports of boxing and wrestling also have claimed women. Gloria Thompson, a boxer, is known as Little Joe Louis. Kathleen Wembley stars in a troupe of girl wrestlers managed by Billy Wolf of Columbus, Ohio. A versatile athlete who makes $10,000 annually, Miss Wembley's original ambition was to become a dress designer. Psychiatrists claim masculinity exists in far more normal women than most men realize. The wife believes she can manage the budget better than her husband. Let's see. The girl who insists on paying checks on dates is fighting to keep out of debt to a man. Those are some things that we've heard a lot of here now. Women would rather pay for things on their own, but then now we're hearing if a man can't pay or anything, he loses his his credibility as a man. So here we're seeing some interesting things here right away. Okay. She doesn't want to be in debt to a man. The secretary who corrects her boss. Corrects her boss. Dictation reveals her attitude of superiority over him. Criminal files are filled with stories of women who acted like men. In Chicago, where toughies are by no means rare, I guess that's what they call women, toughies. Toughies are by no means rare. Old-time policemen still talk about a group of Negro women criminals who prowled vice areas on the South Side during the early 90s. I guess that was the 1890s. Okay. So, let's see. Okay, 1890s. Committing hundreds of holdups, such a female tough was Floozy Moore, or Flossie Moore, often called the most notorious female bandit in Chicago history. I'm going to have to look her up. And according to the police, she stole more than $125,000 during the years of 1889 to 1893. A strong, cold-blooded criminal, she twice tried to kill a matron while lodged in jail. During one year, she was held for trial 36 times, often being freed by a shyster lawyer she kept on her payroll at $125 a month. She also gave a white lover, handsome Harry Gray, $25 a day. Since time immemorial, there have been women who prefer to dress in male clothing. They are known to during World War. Sorry about this moving all over the place, y'all. During World War II, one of the most curious phenomena on the home front was the emergence of the women on men's jobs, ignoring the loudly expressed horror of men who like to regard women as the weaker sex, beautiful and delicate. Thousands of women disguised their charms in mannish clothing and went to work in defense plants, handling everything from rivet guns to pneumatic drills. Everywhere, women replaced men as taxi drivers, streetcar operators, mechanics, and gas station attendants. Okay. So, the most common trope is, the women had to go out and go do these things, but it's looking like from this article, they chose to go out and do these things. They didn't have to, but they did. So this is something that they wanted to do. And then we've seen the articles, I want to say it's from South Carolina, where the mayor of the town, told the women who were getting pensions from the military that they had better go out and do the domestic work that the white women wanted them to perform, so that they could be, rested up for their husbands and be able to take care of their husbands when they got home from work. That if these black women did not come to work for these people, then they will be run out of the county. And, if they were run out of that county, they'd be run from county to county because they just didn't want to work. So that's what they were facing. But, we don't hear any of that nowadays because there's a neglected aspect of history that doesn't make the man or the black man the villain, where we are not, abusing our position as the heads of household, as the men, as, potential mates for these ladies. So let's see. While these women were featured in story and song examples, there always have been women who acted like men. Women always have represented the leadership. Women have always resented the leadership of men. Okay, so here you have it in 1953. And they're even talking about the 1800s. Okay? So, not long out of slavery, and black women resented the leadership of men. Okay? And we're doing things that were commonly attributed to men, trying to be independent. Okay? And it doesn't seem like there was anything that, by saying resented the leadership of men, they never wanted to be under the leadership of men or the coverage of men. There was some of them. Okay. Now some of them did, but apparently here, in this article, it is covering the phenomenon that we're seeing today at a smaller, with a smaller representation, I think, of women in general. But let's move on here. Generally, however, this resentment is quiet and controlled, as illustrated by the fact that women handle 95% of the nation's finances, thus dictating many of its policies unobtrusively. Okay? That's significant. Women handled, at that time, 95% of the nation's finances. Okay. But they would have you believe that women didn't control anything. Women didn't control any of the money. Women had to basically be subservient, to these men. And, it's just not represented in any of the literature that you go back and you read this literature of the time, and you'll see these women are talking about why they want to do this. These women are doing what they want to do. All right. Nobody made them go out and go do this. They were making good money to do this. And this is another representation of it, that if the dollar sign is high enough, that women will walk away. Well, at least our women will. Our women will walk away from us. And these were the times where they were learning from that. This was around the time when they started to take advantage of these things. This was not right after World War II, right when the country was trying to get itself back together, when a lot of the subdivisions and the way neighborhoods are set up with homes and whatnot, all of that was around this time. Okay, so this was the time when appliances were being sold. This is when a lot of the businesses were starting to cater to the women's ability to purchase. Okay, which we see here from this article, 95% of the nation's finances were already in women's hands. So, it would stand to reason that they would, cater to the purchasing power of those women and to the women's ability to be able to persuade their husbands to purchase these things, for their households and whatever else their domestic needs might have been. Okay, so let's move on here. But as sociological concepts and feminine rights broaden, an ever-increasing number of women step out in shoes formerly worn exclusively by men. Today, no profession is closed to their invasion. Among the women who are successfully and happily invading male occupations is Rosie Lee Crawford, a Jack psychiatrist. Oh, I'm sorry. I started reading this the wrong place. I think I was supposed to start here at the top here. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of start this over. Okay, Crawford, a Jackson, Mississippi mechanic, hired as a car washer during the war, and the 29-year-old Miss Crawford soon became a first-class mechanic, but she was not, has not lost her womanliness. Still likes to dress in typical dresses and hats. Like many girls in the Midwest, Betty Chapman, an Illinois State normal college student, read of good salaries to be. Hang it. This is moving crazy. Sorry, y'all. Bear with me. Basically, this is what I read before about her, reading about good salaries, and, talented athlete. She became the first Negro girl in organized softball 2 years ago when she joined the Music Maids of Chicago. The rough and tumble and tough sports, boxing and wrestling also has claimed women. Gloria Thompson. Okay, so I've already read that part, y'all. I read it out of place. So let's move down to the last part. Okay, psychiatrist as. Okay, I'll take that back. No, I'm gonna have to read it. Okay. Kathleen Wimbley stars in a troupe of girls wrestlers managed by Billy Wolf of the Columbus, Ohio, and versatile athlete who makes $10,000 annually. Miss Wimbley original ambition was to become a dress designer. Psychiatrists claim masculinity exists in far more normal women than most men realize. The wife believes she can manage the budget better than the husband. The girl who insists on paying checks on dates is fighting to keep out of debt to a man. The secretary who corrects her boss's dictation reveals her attitude of superiority over him. Criminal files are filled with stories of women who acted like men in Chicago. Okay, so going back over that again, where they talk about, women's disdain for their perceived subservient place in society. These were needed jobs. Women fill those jobs. I don't think every place was run the same way. I think the way some white businesses were run, like, for example, Mad Men, I don't think it was that way for black women in black businesses. We don't move like they move in the same situations. We know that in modern times, in times in the past, we have never moved like the white society has moved. So I don't think that that's been properly analyzed and broken down in order for us to show the difference in how our relationships were, what we aspire to be. But as a society that used to be the service class to the dominant society, one could see how most black people looked up to the dominant society and wanted to emulate the dominant society with regard to money, with regard to living conditions, with regard to education, and we see that. Okay, and that was a perceived stepping stone to elevate ourselves. But as we've seen, you can get the money, you can elevate yourself, and you will still be perceived as a threat. No matter how much education you have, no matter how much you try to make yourself appear to not be threatening, you will be perceived or can be perceived as a threat. And we're seeing that in the deaths of black males when trying to be apprehended. But you can see somebody who has killed several people, who can be walking down the street with the gun, and they will apprehend him without killing him, without harming him. So there is a difference, and we have to be mindful of that difference. We have to look at the world as it is, and not like most of the young ladies that we're seeing on YouTube who are trying to look at the world as it should be. It should be this way. I feel like it should be. I feel like it shouldn't be that way. That we can't live in a world and address situations and problems based on how we feel it should be. Now, if it's wrong, it's just wrong. It's not about how I feel about it. It's wrong because it's unequitable. Okay. So that's all I'm saying, but let's move on here. Okay. So now we're moving down to where we're talking about. Okay. Doesn't want to be in debt to a man. Okay. Criminal files are filled with women acting like men in Chicago, where the toughies are by no means rare. Old-time policemen still talk about a group of Negro women, criminals who prowled vice areas on the South Side during the early 1890s, committing hundreds of holdups. That might be a good movie, you know what I mean? Since they just did the one on Netflix with all of the, the black cowboys, I think this would be a good concept. If somebody's out there listening, man, somebody ought to get on that, Okay, so such a female tough was Flossie Moore, who often called the most notorious female bandit in Chicago, stole $125,000 during the years of 1889 and 1893. A strong, cold-blooded criminal. She twice tried to kill a matron while lodged in jail. During 1 year, she was held for trial 36 times, often being freed by a shiesty lawyer. I'm sure it was more than just a shiesty lawyer, because in history, there's always been a disdain for basically holding women accountable like men in the judiciary, and the justice system. So we have to take that into account as well. Okay, she also here, 1953, had a white lover, Handsome Harry. She paid him $25 a day just to be with her. You guys take from that what you will. Since time immemorial, there have been women who prefer to dress in men's clothing. They are known to, psychiatrists as transvestites. They like to cultivate men on a man-on-man basis, adopt masculine views whenever possible, but often marry and live perfectly normal lives with their husbands. So apparently back then they would switch back and forth because it was socially unacceptable. And I guess they're talking about men here. Okay, let's see. Psychiatrists they were known by psychiatrists as transvestites. They like to cultivate men on a man-on-man basis. Okay, so I guess they are talking about men here. Adopt masculine views whenever possible, but often marry and live perfectly normal lives with their husbands. Maybe they're talking about women. I don't understand that part. If you guys get it, straighten me out. Maybe it's, I'm kind of lost in the wording, maybe of the time there. Okay. With all the emergence of the independent, self-supporting woman alarms, now here's a good part. With all the emergence of the independent, self-supporting women alarms, some authorities, sociologist Alex Dirksen says, the man is the hunter, the pursuer, the provider, the aggressor. When the arrangement is reversed, then the relationship is unnatural and is doomed. Some alarmists say that the emergence of the women who act like men has created such a menace and threat to society that unless men grab the offensive immediately, they will soon find themselves in second place in the world. Okay? Now, there's a full article. If you guys want to read it, I'll leave a link. Sorry I messed that up. But it was probably good to cover it again and put it in the right perspective. Okay, so here they had scientists and psychologists and sociologists looking at this to see what kind of impact this was going to have. So as you can see, in 1953, they predicted what we're going through right now with the LGBT emergence, taking over men's issues, and civil rights issues in order to basically piggyback the momentum from those issues and to replace it with their issues and to get their issues addressed. So in essence, this is stealing. It's stealing. If you have your agenda, you need to have your agenda. You need to have your LGBTQ, whatever agenda, and let black folks, normal black folks, regular black folks have their agenda, and fight for our rights. We get our monetary assistance. We get our reparations. We get help for our black men and boys. We get these men out of prison. We get these men educated, and we take care of our communities. That's our responsibility. So as much as you might want to act like a man, take on the responsibilities of men and carry yourself as a man, you cannot assume our role and delegitimize us as Black men and, further your own goals. I watched a show on Green Gorilla Channel where we had an activist that came out with the Black Lives Matter movement, and he actually went out and protested and talked about, what the issues were that they were pushing within Democratic circles and trying to basically usurp the movement. You had Black men dead, laying in the streets, shot, killed, choked for no reason, and you got white folks out there with signs, rainbow signs, and LGBTQ signs, and all of that. And it became less about Black Lives Matter, and anybody who wanted to push their agenda went out there and basically usurped our issues in order to steal the funding, steal the momentum, and look who has benefited. The people who have benefited are the people who don't look like you. Most of the people out here who are being heavily policed, being put in jail, who are not being educated, whose boys are in broken families and whatnot, they haven't given you shit. Okay? Not a thing. But what they have, who did benefit from this, was millions of dollars were shuffled over to LGBTQ rights organizations. You got upcoming events that are coming up, and the entire charter is based on defending women against domestic violence and ensuring that LGBTQ people get rights and get jobs and have representation and all of that. And, Black women are getting millions of dollars in all kinds of aid, and who was dead in the streets? Black men, Black boys were dead in the streets. One dead buying Skittles, one dead going to get cigarettes or cigars, and on and on and on. One dead playing on the playground with a cap gun, and people calling police. You got the same issues that have been going on forever. The same issues that happened with Emmett Till. Emmett Till had a white woman say that he whistled at her. He wound up dead. Okay? You got all kinds of issues where we got Karens who feel like their God-given right to be able to basically complain and have you destroyed is being infringed upon. So the same thing is going on. And you know who's protecting them? Black women are out here protecting them. Okay? Not all Black women, but you know who I'm talking about. Now, the ones who aren't, you can see this. And you know that there's no need to circle the wagons around dysfunction. See, because in a functional society, when you see somebody messing up, you basically point it out and you bring them back into the fold. You don't act like it doesn't exist, like a lot of these other people out here. So you see a lot of emotional responses and just responses in general to anything and everything by Black women, as if they are men, as if they are the aggressor, when that is not their natural, instinctive place to be. So we see more and more, as we get more and more comfortable, we're starting to see people move away from their biological station. Okay? So more and more, we're starting to see people deny science, deny biology, deny their natural function in order to make it what they feel like it should be. And it was predicted, and here it is, 1953. Okay? So that's why I like these jets. You got to go back. You got to pick these up. I'm gonna keep peeling through these. They've even got another story in here where they even discussed where they were saying were mixed babies better than regular black babies. I mean, things that people were actually sitting up, talking about. Some of our dysfunctional people in our community were talking about, and they had to go and get the science to show that there's no difference. That doesn't make your kids better. But you know how we do. Makes our kids better because their hair looks good, because they're lighter, because you know how we are. But a lot of people who push this narrative are the people who are more susceptible to beauty and to things looking a certain way, the aesthetics of things. Okay? Men like pretty, but black women really, really like pretty. Okay? So if you don't believe me, go back and look at that how to sell to the Negro. And it applies to more than just selling to the Negro. So with that being said, I guess I'll move on back down here. And, hope you guys found this interesting. I know I do. I love the little, the jet magazines, man. And I'll keep peeling through them for you. You guys tell me what you think. Hopefully Gigi and BGS and Dr. T. Hassan will take a look at it and tell me what they think. I value their opinion. I value all of you guys' opinion as well. And, we're going to keep doing this and trying to turn some of this stuff around, because I want you guys to remember, it's just like it said. It said we will be second-class citizens. We'll be second class to the women who have taken our place as men. Okay? So y'all remember what Ricky Bobby's daddy said now.
You're a winner. You got the gift. Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
If you ain't first, you're last.
See you when you're grown up.
Dad! Come back,
You are listening to Abuki Cabal, the analytical savage.
All right, y'all. I'm out, man. Until the next time. Ladies, gentlemen, I'm not your enemy, man. I'm just trying to make you think.